For your last part of your GIMP project, which is project number 3, you are going to be combining 2 or 3 different items. They could be animals. You just saw a video that has a lot of different examples of these. It can be things, it can be people, it's up to you. But they should be 2 things that don't really go together, but you want it to be as seamless as possible. So you want it to look like the picture hasn't been doctored or manipulated, even though people are going to know, obviously, that it has. But you want them to think that if you make some crazy animal that has the body of a dog and the head of a horse, you want people to think, wait, does that kind of animal actually exist? So you want to see if you can kind of fool them. There's a lot of people out on the internet who've been very successful at this. So think about the 2 things you want to combine. You need to find 2 good pictures of them and go ahead and save them to your Mrs. Wriggler folder on the S drive. And then when you open up GIMP, you need to make sure you open them as layers. So you want to go to File, Open as Layers. I'm going to use a frog. And then I'm going to go get my other picture, which is Yoda. And open. Okay, and as you can see, my Yoda picture is a little bit cut off. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up to Layer and do Scale Layer. And I'm going to make that a little smaller. We'll do 397. And see how that works. Okay, much better. Now it fits my window that I had before. Oh, cancel. One thing about this, number 1, you're going to have to kind of try some different things, use some of the other tools that you haven't used yet, maybe the blur or sharpen tool and the smudge tool, maybe the burn tool. Any of those might be helpful. Also, if you want to pick a particular color to color something, you use the little eyedropper and then you just click on where you want that whatever color that you want there. So I'm just going to show you a couple things. I'm not going to show you how to do this because there's really not a particular way to do it. I'm going to show you a couple of little tricks that you might need along the way to make your hybrid concoction or whatever you want to call it. So first thing is, let's say if you want to cut out a certain section, I would recommend using the scissor tools and go around your object. I'd do short, move, click, move, click, move, click. I wouldn't go a big long distance because then it starts to get a little sloppy. I would do short little strokes in between each time you move. And then once you get all the way around your guy, or whatever area you're cutting, you might need to, well, first you're going to need to hit the Enter key. All right, you need to make sure you click back on the very first one, hit Enter, and then you can see you've got your little ants there. If I want to get rid of everything else except for his head, then what I'm going to do is go up to Select, Invert, and that means it'll select everything but his head. And then I'm going to do Layer and Transparency. And you want to do Color to Alpha. Click OK. And then we'll do an Edit Cut. And the reason why you do that is that way you can, if you do that color to alpha part, that will make sure that when you do cut everything else out, it'll go to clear or transparent instead of white. Because if you don't do that color to alpha, it'll just change the background white and you won't be able to see the other part, the other picture that you want to use. So then I'm going to use my move tool and move it over here. And as you can see, Yoda's head doesn't fit very well on my frog. So I'm going to go up to Layer, and I'm going to scale that layer again. I'm going to make him like 500. Scale. And this is looking a little better already. Okay, Now, in this case, I can just kind of cover up my frog. I still need a little work right here. But notice there's a lot of issues with the color. When you want to get all those dots from moving, just hit select none. There's a lot of, there's a little bit of frog showing. I need a little bit of work here because you want to make this flow. So you might want to make Yoda this color green. So in that case, you can choose your eyedropper tool, select that color, and then, whoops, try to get that color of green, but you have to click on the background first, make sure that layer is chosen. Let's say you want like this color right here, and it'll give you a, over here it'll give you a, what the color scheme looks like because you chose it. And then you might need to go back around and select your, whoops, go back to Yoda, and we might have to use the paintbrush on him. Obviously, that's not going to be the way you want to do it. I'm just being sloppy. But you can see how well that green matches with what they selected. So it's actually a pretty good match of color. You wouldn't want to do that everywhere, and you want to match up, like you'll want to make this flow and look as good as possible. The other thing that you can do, you've got this smudge tool, so you can kind of smudge your edges together. You can't really see it much, but it is doing a little something, not drastic. All right, so there's a couple of options that might help you put your two together. And I think that's about it. All right, and then one more thing you might want to do is you might want to kind of customize your own paintbrush. And what you can do with that is choose a select tool, like the little lasso, and we'll go to our background. If there's something like this little piece right here, I'm just going to make a teeny tiny little section and hit enter. Oop. We'll try that again. Okay, it's very tiny. You don't have to hit enter on that one. You just have to make sure you click back on the first. And then you can go up to Edit, Copy, and it'll actually make it a paintbrush. So then if you choose your paintbrush and then go back to your Yoda, you can choose that paintbrush and you can color. You can actually paint with what it is that you just chose. Although, got to do select none. Don't forget that part. And then you can paint with that. So you might want to select around his eyes, make it different little sections. But that's another way you can do that. And then you can choose different sections. Like obviously I wouldn't make this green like that, but you can choose different sections and make your own paintbrush and then kind of color Yoda in those different spots so it'll look like what you want. I would maybe go back and go around with the scissor tools around Yoda so you can have a nice clean coloring area so it won't go outside the lines, and that's up to you guys. A lot of you guys are pretty good with the painting, so that's something you can do. But those are a few options that might help you so your concoctions and your manipulated photos look as best as they can. So like I said, there's no set way to do it. Just trial and error. Try out those different tools. The best advice I can give you is be patient and try to pick something that kind of has a similar color scheme. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be exactly, but the closer they are, then usually the easier it is to get that combination. But I want something really creative. I want something really neat looking, and I want something really well done when it's all said and done. So good luck with it, and enjoy. Bye-bye.